So Hardbite doesn't do weird contests or celebrity collaborations. Instead, they promote their Canadianness, which, as we know, is something I'm all for on this podcast, clearly.
Of course.
And then they also promote how natural and fresh their products are. And they always work really hard to come up with cool original flavors. So some of them that have come up with that are still available to this day are pepper jack, avocado lime, spicy dill pickle, which I have questions about, but might try. And then they have wild onion and yogurt, which I would eat drunk any day. And then the coolest sounding one, I think, is their parsnip chip that is Chipotle raspberry flavored. So if you could try one, and I'm really saying one of those flavors, which one would it be?
Yeah, God, that's really hard. Because those are a lot of good options. When I was actually buying the hard bite chips, I saw all the other flavors and I was like, man, I really want to buy another one of these, like a different flavor. But to not repeat myself, I actually want to broaden myself a little bit. I'm going to go with wild onion and yogurt.
Ooh, to me, it sounds creamy and a little bit tangy, and also perfect. I guess actually they just repurposed sour cream and onion and made it better.
Yes.
I think we're a little bit dumb in that way, but they actually still sound really, really good, and I would eat a hell lot of them. If I could only pick one, I think I would do the parsnip chip. Because Chipotle raspberry brings me a lot of questions. I'm wondering if the raspberry is used as coloring or as actual flavor. And I think that's as close as it's going to get in modern times to Hostess's orange chips. So I would give it a go. I've also tried a couple of like root vegetable based chips in my day. And so like, oh boy.
Like yuca chips.
Yes. So when this was done to me, because I'm not generally someone who would gravitate towards root vegetable chips. I do like them, however. But when COVID started, I lived in an Airbnb owned by a very nice woman. And she owned a juice bar that sold a lot of fancy juices. And she ate a lot of healthy food. And the place was very nice. And when COVID started, she was the sweetest woman. My strategy, so I wouldn't have to cook in an Airbnb, is I bought an XL cheese pizza from Domino's, and that was my food for a week. Her strategy to be very cute and nice is she brought us a bunch of drinks and snacks. So I remember she gave me a bag of goodies, and it made me so happy. But the stuff in there was so funny. She bought an avocado. Like, she gave me a single avocado. And then she got me coconut water with electrolytes, and then like all natural chocolate, and she got me root vegetable chips. And they felt like shards, but they were really good. So I feel like those, I'm not sure on the texture. I know parsnip could get really light.
Yes.
But like I would be down to try it.
Have you ever had
this actually?
You ever had Terra chips?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
There's a restaurant in Montreal called Momo Sushi Vegetarian, so vegan sushi. They're so good. I have such an intellectual crush on the chef. We have to go.
We have to go.
100%.
Yes.
Like, they make me so happy. And they do, I think, an entree with taro chips. And it is so good. I love taro chips. So, yeah, this would be what I would try. Now, as we've seen with the two other companies, there's a lot of bad juju that can happen in the world of potato chips. But Hardbite is actually a pretty great company. So in a national post competition for Canada's favorite confection, Hardbite chips placed third, right after Nanaimo bars and Leslie's Coffee Crisp chocolate bar. So the biggest controversy there ever was is that they used to claim to be a family company from top to bottom, even though not all the founders were part of the same family. Really, that's all I could find. And since then, they actually went back on it. So if you want to read the whole tea, see all the details, you can look at Snacks, A Canadian Food History. Super interesting. So since Janice Thiessen reported on that in that book, Hardbite actually scrubbed off any misunderstanding and clarified its roots. And so they stopped promoting the idea that they were a family company because technically they're not entirely. And they went back. So I think that capitalizing on the idea of being a family company, even by manipulating language and, hiding who's who, and like, I think
Yeah.
one thing that they did is they removed the last names of everybody and then called themselves like Pete and Mark to make it sound like they were brothers. But like all of that, it does make sense from a marketing perspective. But it's also not completely necessary because as we've seen, the idea of a company being your family is actually a massive red flag.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that good of an idea to promote the idea that your family is your company.
At this time, I think at this point, I'm like super over it. Every time I see a company say, "Yeah, we're like a family," I'm like, ugh, whatever. Oh my god, another one of these.
Well, like, I don't know. What does it bring further flavor to your product? Like, is the family, like, is there a secret family? Like, what you can say is, we took my auntie's recipe and brought it to the company. You don't have to say that you're a family. That's not really that necessary.
Yeah.
So now, even then, I do think chip making is an incredibly competitive industry where multinationals have endless funds dedicated to marketing and taking up storage on grocery store shelves. So, if a small Canadian company wants to succeed, they do have to give it everything they have. So I think Hardbite's biggest strength was actually realizing that they were already pretty damn fantastic as they were, and going back to promoting themselves as an all-natural, great-tasting, local potato chip company was the best thing they could do for their brand. So, I don't know. I really like them. What do you think?
I think I like them too. I was kind of just judging the bags, like their cover, when I first purchased them, and when I was looking at them, I'm like, I feel like Covered Bridge would be like my number one. I was just judging it as as a company, and Hardbite was like right there, like the second. I don't know what it is. It must be the marketing just getting to me. But overall, I think Hardbite seems to have like a better. What's the word? A better. God, there's a word for it. It's like. What's the word, Victoria? What's the word?
Ethos?
No, there's a.
Vision?
I guess maybe vision. It's when companies have like a thing. It's like a crud. It's
Theme?
no. Oh my god, I'm blanking so hard. You know what? It's a. I guess statement. I don't know. In general, I think just Hardbite has like a pretty good
Vision.
let's say vision. They have a pretty good vision of what they want to become, and they present this out. They present themselves really well, in my opinion.
Yeah.
At least in comparison to the other two companies that we have seen so far. They come off a lot. Yes, it's a better image. They have a better image, in my opinion. Even though I at first I thought Covered Bridge would have. I thought Covered Bridge would be like number one, but image wise. Hardbite seems to be at the top so far. Like it seems like they got good morals. They have a good understanding of everything and how it works, and they want to do better, and they know that they can do better.
I think what I like most. So both companies are relatively new. So I think Covered Bridge just celebrated 10 years, and Hardbite has been around since 1998. They're relatively recent, and it would take very little to take them out. So the fact that they've prospered this long, even though it's been this short, is actually really big. But
I've never even heard of them. I'm shocked.
Yeah, they're very hard to get in Quebec, and like both of them, I think you have to go to like health food stores to get them because they use natural ingredients. And Frito-Lay's super competitive. Oh my god! Here, I think Covered Bridge sort of looks as if it's been around forever. Whereas Hardbite looks like the future of chips.
Yes.
They look much more modern. They take wilder shots. They always come out with new flavors that are very creative. So to me, it's like if I was bringing chips to a party, I would probably lean towards Covered Bridge. That if it's a Quebec party, we got to go yum yum. But then if I was actually buying chips for myself once a week, I do like the idea of a company that prides itself on being all natural. And I like that that's what they chose to promote. To me, that's very smart. and it actually speaks about the product, which is what matters. I don't really, sure, I understand values are important. We all strive to be good people. But like really, when you're promoting a product, I want you to talk about a product. So for me, Hardbite is a company I can really get behind, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
So they're what I would buy for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. The word I was thinking, by the way, it was mission statement. That was it. That was it. I just feel like that it's so dumb that I couldn't think of it. And I even said the word statement, but whatever. Let's go ahead. Move on.
No, it's true. I think the mission statement for Covered Bridge was really more about promoting the familial aspect of the company and also culinary tourism and promoting the region, which are all very nice things. And I'm glad they did that and they brought a lot to New Brunswick. But at the same time, I like that Hardbite's focus is just about the product. I think perhaps Covered Bridge is bigger than itself, which is a beautiful thing. But as a consumer who's not like taking a once in a lifetime trip to New Brunswick, I also like Hardbites. I don't know. Ooh, I could debate all day about this. So now, I've been deep into the world of chips for what feels like 600,000 years. And I've discovered some beautiful flavors along the way. So there's roasting chicken, which is really big in the Maritimes. So that's the one you like. Actually, so by the time I was done with my research, I had 12 bags of chips in my house.
Oh boy.
They're gonna last several months. I don't eat full bags of chips at once.
Right.
Also, since I've started doing the research and eating the chips, I don't really feel great. So I'm really gonna have to pace myself.
Jeez.
But I tried the roasting chicken chips from Old Dutch. They taste like chicken gravy, and they're very savory and sage forward. And they're very good. Okay. I quite like them. So I understand why you like them. There's another one that is called Storm Chips. So those are bags of chips with each laid out separately. Dill pickle, ketchup, barbecue, and salt and vinegar. So inside the bag, there's a whole storm of flavors. And then when you're picking from the bowl, there's a bunch of different colors, and you don't really know what you're going to get. And so those are really big, and it's known when there is a storm, stores have to stock up because everybody's going to come for the storm chips.
Oh my God. That's a funny tradition. That's actually kind of cool.
I really like it. And then there's a new flavor that came out this year from Lay's for Lunar New Year. They got cucumber flavored chips and chicken tomato chips.
I would demolish those. It sounds fantastic.
So those are currently in my car.
Oh my God.
For grocery delivery next week. And I'm seriously debating ordering them or not because I don't feel good.
Oh my
But that's okay. So now, if you had to pick between storm chips and, let's say, chicken tomato chips, which one would you pick?
Chicken tomato chips. No, wait. Yes, chicken tomato chips.
You're not gonna die. I can bring you both. I like that this was very life or death for you.
Yeah, it really was. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Chicken tomato chips would be my choice. Just because the storm chips sound really good. It just seems like it's all dressed with some dill added on in there. And I'm really curious about it, but I'm more curious about the cucumber flavor of a chip. Like cucumber in chips, I don't think I've ever had that.
Wait, so I just want to clarify. Storm chips, it's like it's as if you took a bag of dill, a bag of ketchup, a bag of barbecue. Yeah.
Way.
So it's really, they're putting it's like Fruit Loops, every different flavor in one bag.
Damn.
And also, I was offering chicken tomato. Cucumber is a different bag. So now, okay, we can put them all up against one another. We've got storm chips. We've got cucumber
and
flavored chips.
Cucumber.
And we've got chicken tomato. You're really in a pickle here.
Yes.
So which one would you pick?
Storm chips now. Now that it's actually clarified, I would go with storm chips. It sounds a lot more mysterious.
Yes. Well, so for me, I struggle with potlucks where people, because I always pick chips. That's always what you should pick. But then I always wonder, do they want fancy chips? Do they want basic chips? Do they want fancy flavors? Do they experiment with food? Or are they for the US and I have to bring like plain sea salt. So I like the idea of storm chips because you bring one and you have everything. To me, that's really nice, especially if it's a party with like not that many people.
Yeah.
And then like every bite, it's kind of like Russian roulette. You don't know what you're gonna get, but salt and vinegar is in there, so you better be careful. I don't know. I like this. This like keeps me excited. So those I actually know I can get at Longo's down the street. So I might also get those in the next couple of weeks.
I might have to make a stop tomorrow somewhere and see if I can find all of these flavors, because now I'm really curious.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's a slippery slope. You're gonna have so many chips in your pantry. You don't have to eat them all in 1 week. So for me, what we're probably gonna do is we have a movie night every Friday, and I'm just gonna pick one. So if there's anyone listening right now that's like, oh God, I want all of these, you can, and you will prosper. But like, have a movie night and pick one from the rooster, and you're just gonna have a good time. So probably next week I've got some Covered Bridge cheddar chips, and I'm gonna go Minnesota style, and I'm gonna have those.
That sounds fantastic.
That would be delightful. So now, as we record and release this podcast, we're really going in blind in terms of how our content will be received. So as of right now, we've had 23 views. And I'm really proud of us.
Let's go.
So I know in the future we're going to have more views, and I know we'll get more reaction, which is very exciting.
Yes.
So as someone who's overwhelmed with anxiety, I always like to think 100 steps ahead. And I do foresee people criticizing this show for promoting processed foods. Because, let's face it, we are.
Yeah.
But see, the first thing people do when they hear about something nowadays is react to it in a black and white way. A solid example of that is Culinary Ludism, which is a counterculture that encourages the consumption of natural, local foods, and specifically wants us to return to the ways of our ancestors and stop consuming processed foods. So now, the term is inspired by English hen workers in the 19th century who hated the machines that were destroying their traditional way of life. So what do you think of Culinary Ludism? Do you think we should go back to the old ways of eating?
To an extent, yes, but to another extent, no. I mean, I feel like the word process just makes people think that everything is just loaded with chemicals, whereas I see it more as it's just, factory made, I guess you could say, because I feel like people want to revert back to the old ways, but people don't realize how privileged they are to be able to have processed foods. Like, we are living in the future. Like, this is the future, We don't have to go through crazy obstacles for us to be able to have potato chips or something.
A loaf of bread.
That exactly. Yeah. Like, you know how long it would take for me to make myself some potato chips, where nowadays I could just go down the store and just buy a bag of chips.
You and I would 100% die. It's either the mandolin or the fryer that takes us down, but something's taking us out.
It's the fryer.
So for me, I like the idea of Culinary Ludism. So I've been trying to do it more. So I own a bread machine that I notoriously haven't used in a year. I can make pasta from scratch. I grew up canning. So in my family, we had a canning season. Usually it was October. And it was very hard and very demanding. And if my mom invites you to hang out in October, just know it's a trap. And, I'm also very slowly setting up a pantry so I can try to do it myself again. So if I invite you to my house in October, just know it's a trap.
Okay.
So I'm going to get Lisa, though. She's going to be great. She's very patient. She'll be able to help out. No, it's like nothing. So now, when big-name chefs say they hate processed food and love going to the farmer's market, I go, yeah, me too. Screw big food. But I think the biggest gift this podcast has given me is the opportunity to pause and reflect on our food systems. And that's how I stumbled on an essay by Rachel Lawton. As always, I will link it. Don't worry about that. So she's a food historian who pointed out the truth about how past generations lived and exemplified what life was before industrialization. Now, I will say, the article is incredibly smart. I don't know that it's well written.
That was my next question.
I read it about 4 times, and I think it's brilliant and brings up a lot of good points. I think it's really hard to read because perhaps she didn't divide the essay enough and she didn't section off everything she wanted to teach us. And so sometimes when an article is complicated, you can like get to the end, read it, and understand everything.
Right.
This one, I think, is more of a think piece. I think you have to, simmer on it a
Yeah.
little bit. But she did point out a lot of interesting stuff. So, for our ancestors, natural was disgusting. Fresh fish stank,
Of course.
fresh milk would go sour,
Of course.
eggs would go rotten, fruits were insanely sour, and vegetables were incredibly bitter. So our ancestors, they had to mess around to create sweet oranges and crisp apples. They weren't a thing before. They had to grind, soak, curdle, and ferment so the fresh ingredients wouldn't poison
Oh
them.
boy.
They had to process the food so they could eat the food.
Yeah.
So happiness and wealth was not a basket of fresh vegetables. It was a pantry full of processed food. In reality, when you had fresh food, it was usually a sign that you were poor and that there was nothing else available. So people also loved convenience food, the biggest of all being bread.
Can I stop you right there? I feel like that's where the saying comes from. The best thing since sliced bread, literally. If you're
Yes.
saying that people love convenience food, especially bread, sliced bread is a convenience food. Like,
I love fresh made bread, but you know what I love most? Not having had to make it.
yeah.
My bread machine takes 3 hours, and
Oh,
it's a machine. I'm incredibly lucky. It smells amazing. But you know what? It lasts 2 days because there's no preservative, and on the second day, it gets really weird. So I love bread that I didn't make because you know what people do well in bakeries? They make bread that lasts a little bit longer.
yeah, and I'm not
So
gonna get up at 8 a.m. to then make myself breakfast that I'm gonna end up eating at like 1 p.m. Like,
no, it's very weird. So on top of it, we have to be real about how food systems worked. The people who usually made the food were poor and never got to enjoy it. It all went to the rich in big cities who could actually afford it. So when big chefs nowadays think about processed food and scoff at it, they forget all the good that culinary modernism brought the people. We now have access to tea, sugar, chocolate, canned fruits and vegetables, all of that stuff year round. If you actually take the time to look at a food calendar and look at seasonality, right now, all we have available in Canada that's not from a greenhouse or another country
mhm.
is root vegetables and cabbage.
Well, I mean, I could
And
live off
we,
of it, but boy,
but we probably only are able to get them in the winter because of developments in agriculture. I don't think they were available before.
right?
So nowadays, women no longer have to stay at home to feed their kids 3 meals a day, 365 days a year. They got the option of joining the workforce or just spending more time with the people they love. On top of it, people from a variety of economic classes get to enjoy international foods at home, like high quality pasta and canned tomatoes, and they get to celebrate and enjoy beautiful traditions that include food. So in Winnipeg, for example, Old Dutch chips are considered an essential component of the good old Manitoba social, along with rye bread, kielbasa, cheese cubes, and pierogies.
Oh,
By the way, if anyone listening is doing one of those Manitoba socials, just hit us up. We're coming.
oh.
Now, industrialization and processed foods have left us feeling empowered and free. They're a good thing. Now, am I saying our food systems are perfect? No, I'm not crazy. What I'm saying here is we need to stop feeling shame for eating processed foods and not eating the way our ancestors did. Because culinary Ludism is historically inaccurate and incredibly limiting. People who did manage to eat well in the past were incredibly rich.
Yeah,
And nowadays, it takes an insane amount of privilege in order to be able to go to the farmer's market, buy local, make food from scratch, and eat completely seasonally. Most likely, if you're able to do all of those things, is because you're paying someone to help you with it.
yeah, you're better
Or
off.
because you're able to afford staying at home to do everything. It is a full-time job. That is the reality of it.
Yes.
So here, I'm just inviting you to think for yourself about the relationship you want to have with processed food. Personally, I'm just done feeling bad for living the life that's accessible to me. And I have no interest, not even a little bit, of living off the land and living without sugar and coffee for a year.
I would not either. Oh, dear God. That
It
would be
may
torture.
be an intellectual and physical and philosophical exercise, but it just so happens that I like sugar and coffee and I want it in my mouth.
We live in the
So now-
future, you know? It's kind of absurd to want to live in the past. Like, we live in such a great time. Like,
Yeah.
we are so lucky to be alive right now with everything that we have. Yes.
It cost me $4 to get a can of San Marzano tomatoes. Do you understand how cool that is? It makes me so happy. So, buying dried pasta and baking mixes, which I got this week after reading that article, because I was like, you know what? I want blueberry muffins and I don't want to make them from scratch. And getting frozen fruits. It gives me the ability to spend my weekends reading about chips and hanging out in coffee shops writing about chips. And I get to watch bad documentaries. So recently I saw a documentary from Quebec that's about craft dinner. And I watched it. And you know what? I didn't finish it. It was really bad.
Oh my
and I'm just
God.
so grateful to have the time to do all of that. So if there's one thing you should do this week, it's to go in your pantry and say thank you to every food item you did not have to process yourself. And then, go buy some chips. Go have a little Manitoba social. What do you think?
Enjoy the future, like,
Yeah.
we're here. We might as well just take it all in and enjoy everything. Why revert to old times? But yeah, let's thank the wonderful people that took time out of their day to actually help us get these processed foods. Like, this is not easy.
The people who made the olive oil, the people who made the soy sauce, the sesame oil, all those great things we now have access to. Do you know how cool instant noodles are? I'm just saying, they're fantastic.
Yeah, you're right.
There's a lot of good processed foods to be grateful for. I'm not saying you should have them every day. I'm not saying every processed food is the most healthful thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying processed foods are not all bad. So now, this was the segment of the week where I just rant until we lose every listener. But I do have a couple of wholesome questions left for you. So now, out of every chip we tried today, which one was your favorite?
Well, for those that are still here and listening, this is really, really hard. And I feel like I say this every single episode.
I don't know why you struggle with picking a food so much.
It's not easy. It's just not easy to pick foods. Like, I'm telling you, I am so obsessed with food, it's hard for me to actually choose something I like. I'm going to hate myself for this. Not because I don't like any specific company. But
you can still eat the other ones.
I know. Yes, I literally have them all right here, and I'm gonna enjoy a few of them after this. But I'm gonna go with hard bite.
Okay.
I really enjoy the texture in those, and the flavor is, in my opinion, way better than other all dressed chips that I've had in the past. I did not go with covered bridge primarily, only because I want to say that the flavor of hard bite surprised me more than that of covered bridge. But covered bridge is literally right behind it, like very, very close.
I will say, actually, I'm not going to say covered bridge is my favorite, but I will say it gained points because it reminds me of hamburger chips.
Yes.
And that's just so weird.
Yeah.
But my favorite as well was hard bite.
Mm-hmm.
Because it felt like an acid trip. And I think that's what we all need sometimes. There's no other way to explain it. There's nothing quite as unhinged as a good all-dressed chip. And it wasn't a nose drip kind of chip that just clears your sinuses.
Yeah.
It was actually pretty thoughtfully layered. I don't know. I thought they would cool. So now, if you could create your own chip flavor, what would it be?
God, that's really hard because I feel like I've seen every flavor in the world at this point. You brought up so many flavors, and I'm over here thinking there's just no way there's anything else, and I can't come up with something original. So I'm just gonna go ahead and Let's go with. I want. Uh, God, can you go first?
Okay, I can
Give me
tell
some
you
inspiration.
mine.
Yeah, give me some
So
inspiration.
I have two, and one of them I think is impossible to make, but I just want to see it happen. So the first one, I actually know they exist, and I tried to order them, but they were $24 a bag before shipping, and I thought, oh, this is the line. This is it. We've reached it. So they would be a little bit different, but there's tahini chips. I
Okay.
know I'm not pronouncing them right, but they sound bomb. I think they're on corn chips, obviously. But I want those with a hint of mango.
I've had them.
I
So
need them. Get them to me.
there's a bag that they sell here of they are tortilla chips. Unless you're referring to potato chips specifically, but it's actually these are tortilla chips and they are covered in that seasoning, and they have like a lime flavor in there as well. My mouth is watering. I'm so sorry because like I'm thinking about it and oh god, they're good. They're really good in my opinion.
So that's what I want. Maybe with a hint of mango because I'm just on a hinge and I kind of want to do like a throwback to Hostess.
Yeah.
R.I.P. I just feel like that would be really cool. And then the other one that cannot exist would be creamy avocado. I don't know how you get this on a chip, but creamy avocado chipotle.
That sounds good.
So it would be like
really good.
Creamy, rich, salty, smoky, barely spicy. And then people would be like, wow, I can handle spice. No, Becky. But they would taste really good. You know?
I think you did inspire me to come up with a flavor that I would like. So recently I came across this recipe for, it was an open face sandwich with a layer of like, it's not really guacamole, but it's just a layer of creamy avocado, I guess, or just mashed avocado with, extra stuff in there. On top of that is chicken thighs marinated in chipotle and then drizzled on with a hot sauce honey mixture with garlic powder and chili powder and some other extra stuff in there and a little bit of lime.
Serious business.
Very, very good. But I specifically used Frank's Red Hot sauce for this, the buffalo sauce, and oh my god, I think I found my new favorite like sandwich of the week for me to just consistently make at home because it's so easy to make. I would do an avocado chipotle chicken with Frank's Red Hot buffalo sauce mixed in somehow in there. It wouldn't be creamy avocado, it's just avocado.
Yeah.
With a little bit of salt, not sea salt, like the coarse salt. Yeah, you know what I mean. Those three flavors combined, it's just, I can't explain the flavor. I like the experience I went through when I first bit into the sandwich. My mouth is watering again. I'm so sorry. I would do that. I would do that flavor. I think I would agree with your second option, but I would also add some buffalo hot sauce into it, specifically Frank's hot sauce.
So good. But now, see, the bonus question is going to throw you off then, because this is very specific.
Yes.
If your bag of chips came with a drink, what would the drink be?
So when you say drink, what type of drink? Anything liquid.
Something you can
sip through a straw.
It doesn't have to be a straw. You can go for a cappuccino if you're really crazy. I'm just like opening up to the floor. What would you do? Because mine is simple. It would be a mojito.
Oh. Damn, that's actually really good. That's really good.
And then you could do like a Chipotle mojito. Like, who's going to stop me?
So, okay, here's why I would go with a milkshake, and it sounds really weird of a mixture. I understand that it sounds kind of
it
dodgy.
Just did something to my stomach.
Yes, I know. But I would choose a milkshake specifically because I know that if these chips were to sell here in Quebec,
I'm queasy.
If these chips were to sell here in Quebec, hot chips or anything that's hot and spicy, not that popular here as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I would serve it with milkshake just because of the aspect of the spiciness. There's a chance that this would help with reducing that spiciness. Also, I just really would love to dip these chips in the ice cream. I'm weird like that. I love it. I love it.
Listen, this is an open, safe space where you're allowed
I'm here to say
throw
whatever.
in disgusting ideas that make me feel nauseous. I I think it's because as I was writing the episode today, I also had a bag of ketchup chips.
Oh dear God.
And it was a mini, but I seriously don't feel physically.
You don't feel good.
Okay, I don't feel. I think I don't know. I mean, I guess this is a completely novel concept, but I don't think you're supposed to eat a bag of chip every day for 6 days. I didn't eat the whole bag, but I had a couple. And now I'm thinking on day 6 that my limit has been hit. So when you talk about chicken and avocado and hot sauce, and then you're like, oh, but what about dairy? No. Sir,
I understand.
you have to put an end to this.
I understand.
I think,
it's just, that's the first thing that came to my mind. I couldn't think of anything else. I was going to say Sprite. Complete opposite.
Okay, I'm okay with Sprite. I think we can have. I think it's because Sprite helps with digestion.
Probably.
But I'm open for Sprite.
Sure, let's do Sprite.
I think something with acid. Okay, you're allowed to keep your milkshake.
I'm gonna keep my milkshake. And you know what? I'm going to take it a step further. It's going to be a cookies and cream milkshake. So I'm going to take it even double dairy because it has cream already from the Oreos, plus the dairy from the milk. Let's just go. Let's just go
to be
full
open-minded
throttle,
again. I was starting to pretend to be a chill person again.
Oh my God!
You broke me. Oh boy, it's okay. You're allowed to have. Oh my God, your chicken avocado hot sauce with a cookies and cream milkshakes.
Yeah, that's for whoever is willing to take on the challenge. You know, it'll end up becoming a food challenge at that point. If you can stomach this, you win a T-shirt. At this point, you know, we'll ship you a T-shirt if you can do this.
I feel like this is exactly what happened when someone proposed the cinnamon challenge and was like, what could go wrong?
Oh,
Everything about this feels like the next cinnamon challenge. I would rather eat a Tide Pod, but it's okay.
It's more like the banana Sprite challenge because the cinnamon challenge I don't think makes you puke, but the banana Sprite challenge does. Have you heard about it?
No, but it sounds like a bad idea.
You literally eat a banana as fast as possible and then you chug Sprite, and the reaction makes you vomit.
This is an American thing, right?
I'm not sure. It has to be, maybe.
I hope it is, because I'm not taking ownership for that.
It was really popular like a few years back, like way back in the day.
Well, I just want to say, if we do your thing and make it a challenge, it needs to be an American challenge. It's like, I'm
Canadians
revoking your PR.
Canadians
This is a
do
Canadian challenge. I just can't.
Oh my God.
But
Yeah.
you know, this is a kind of country where we accept weird things that seem to not make sense. So I think if there's a place to try, you're in the place to
I'm in the right place.
So now, unfortunately, or perhaps in this case, fortunately, we have come to the end of our potato chip journey. So what did you think of this episode?
It was enlightening. That's not the right word. It was, yes, it is the right word. It was eye-opening.
Yeah.
This episode was eye-opening. I didn't think I would learn so much about the potato chip industry and how, I guess, toxic it was and kind of still is. But it's good to kind of be knowledgeable of these things, so because I feel like I've never taken fully into consideration why I purchase specific products, but with this sort of background knowledge of, you know, companies being this sort of way, or, you know, promoting things the sort of way, or marketing the sort of way, it kind of makes me, you know, think a little bit further of what I'm purchasing. I think I would rather spend the extra money. Actually, I don't remember exactly how much it was, but I think I would rather spend the extra money on a company like Hardbite than a company like Lay's. Again, I don't know if I remember how much it was, but overall, I mean, Hardbite is a smaller bag, whereas Lay's can offer you a really big bag for like maybe $2. You know, I think I'd rather spend my money on Hardbite than Lay's, because I think I'd rather support a company like Hardbite than a company like Lay's, even though I don't think we went through that much of bashing on Lay's. At least not on the record.
I will say.
Not on the record.
So, if you like to look at, was it the Frito-Lay Bandit?
Yes.
There's plenty of stuff to find online. And then, actually, if you look at Snack, a Canadian food history, which obviously will be linked up, there's so many shady things that Frito-Lay did in order to try to take down smaller Canadian companies like Old Dutch, which is half Canadian, half US based. But like they've done some shady stuff to make sure they would be the only ones to stick to the shelves. So for me, I think it's really a question of like supporting companies that made it through despite the odds, because that means they have something really good to sell. Because
Yeah.
you have to think how hard it is in general to transport, produce, sell, and market potatoes, like potato chips. It's actually a really easy market to get into, but it's really hard to break through because
Especially when
potatoes,
Lay's is so big, like such a big
yes,
company.
but also potatoes don't keep for a long time. Potato chips actually have a shelf life of, I think, 90 days. I think that was the number for Old Dutch. So usually from the shipping of the potato to the factory, of the shipping to the shipping of the bag to the store, this makes it a very regional affair. So for a company like Heartbite to have made it all the way from British Columbia to Toronto and then Quebec City is really cool, and it speaks to like their power as a company. So
Hmm.
I think obviously, as we've both established, they were a favorite, but it's for a good reason.
Yeah.
So for me, I think honestly, this was the hardest episode I've ever had to write because there's so much drama in the world of chips. It feels like glee. I cannot believe that there's actually that much drama. I picked that topic on a whim to just be cute and quirky. So, regardless of all of that, I'm really grateful that I live in Canada and not the US because clearly I'm surrounded with people who have great taste. Now, this is a special episode because we're also wrapping up the entire season. So, out of every topic we covered, Timbits, pizza, maple syrup, bagels, butter tarts, and chips, which one was your favorite?
You always give me these options, and I always say the same thing. I can't choose, but I am choosing the most memorable things. Honorable mentions, definitely sortilege, the
Oh, hell yeah.
for the maple syrup episode.
Hell yeah.
I am going with pizza. It was my favorite specifically only because of the donair sauce. I
You know,
cannot
yeah,
believe how shocked I was that episode.
you know.
It was so memorable to me. That is a memory I will literally die with. Like I will remember this when I'm
Hands
80.
down, it's the best thing I've ever had to edit. And I've had to edit a lot of footage in my life. This is so funny. One day I'll release just like, because obviously I take out when we're eating,
Yeah.
because it sounds pretty disgusting, and I think like people at home deserve better than to hear me like chew on some pizza. Actually, that episode was really hard to edit because I sometimes chewed as I was talking, and so I had to remove that. But I like that episode because I think it was the first time I realized, especially that quote from John Green in a podcast about pineapple, I realized how multicultural Canada was, which is obviously something we keep talking about all the time. But everything that was contributed to the Canadian landscape directly because of Canada's multicultural landscape. So,
Hmm.
like, we've had Hawaiian pizza, Windsor pizza, I mean, not a direct result of multiculturalism, but just a brilliant thing. We've
Yeah.
had donair sauce. We've had donair. We've had, I mean, we've had so many cool things that were brought by multiculturalism that I don't know, this episode in particular just made me really grateful. And now, out of every food we've had, and I'm not going to list all of them because we've eaten a lot of stuff, which
Yeah.
food item was your favorite?
God. Also another hard one. I'm not going to go with pizza. Even though I really like the donair sauce, I don't think I would eat this every single day. What I
Oh yeah, we
would
died.
eat, yeah, what I would eat every single day is the Montreal style bagels. Specifically, I think I would go with the everything seasoned one, unless I'm remembering it correctly. The everything seasoned one with a good layer of cream cheese. That was superb.
So you can look back later because essentially I write my answers and then I borrowed them on the script. I wrote bagel. I wrote the sesame bagel. I thought it was so good and so nutty and flavorful, and I thought I could have it every day with cream cheese. And actually, the sesame bagel won by like an eighth of an inch because I made this thing after recording that was like tangy cream cheese, sesame bagel, and a little bit of jam. What I had explained that I wanted to do, and so just because of that food experience, that was just so good and felt such high end, even though it was a bagel that cost $1.10. That was like my favorite moment, like the favorite food of the season. So now I think if there's anything that we learned from all of this is that Canada is just full of wild cards, and we've just scratched the surface of everything that's available.
And I'm actually so beyond excited to follow up on this and continue with this. Like,
oh, hell
I
yeah.
can't believe, I'm telling you, I cannot believe how shocked I was for this, all these 6 episodes, because
oh yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest. At first I thought I was like, I don't think I'll be that like surprised by anything. Boy, was I wrong. Was I completely wrong. And I want everybody to go through what I've been through, because that was life-changing. That was life-changing.
It was just really exciting. I know exactly what you're talking about. No, it was, I think every episode I was like, I was texting you guys. I was like, I don't know if we'll do this food or that food. And then actually I realized I wrote the original season lineup like in January. And then every week I would pick something different. So the original lineup, I have it in the notebook, is completely different. We're supposed to do hot dogs, man. Like, we went
so
way out of left field. So for me, it was really every week I would pick a topic. I would research it so last minute. It was shameful. And then I would text you guys and go, oh shit, there's actually so much we have to cover. So I think that was the most exciting part, is that there was always something new to learn that was actually really fucking interesting. So that was fun.
That sounds like fun. But overall, thank you to everyone for listening to this first season of the Canadian Food Podcast. We sure hope you liked it.
If you liked it, leave us a 5-star review online. Now I know where, and I'm going to do a TikTok where I show how to do it. And let us know what you liked and what you truly hated. Is there a food we have to cover next season? Is there some piping hot tea I need to look into? I'm here for the drama and at riddle with FOMO, so let me know what you want us to talk about via email at thecanadianfoodpodcast@hotmail.com. You can also check out our website, which is being built slowly but surely, thecanadianfoodblog.ca. The next season of the podcast will probably feature some guests, so if you're a Canadian chef or food expert and you'd like to come on the podcast, send me an email and we can work something out. Now, finally, if you'd like to hear this podcast all over again in French, Le Podcast, La Bouffe Canadienne, is available now wherever you got this podcast from. Go listen to it. If you want to find out what happens when a French author stops speaking French for 5 years, this is the train wreck for you.
Come back in a couple of months for season 2, where we'll be talking even more.
Oh yeah, we are not done talking. So that's it. Goodbye.